Good news, everyone! I have returned. And this time, big collaboration kind of, because 12 different countries, all represented by a regional variant. Anyhow, let's get into it. So, starting out with my home country, we have the United States. And for the idea, I got to thinking I should probably take it from one of the two American-esque regions. And considering Alola is more just tropical in general and not entirely United States, specifically Hawaii, I figured let's take from Unova, and I decided on Scrafty. And for this Scrafty specifically, I had to make a choice because we have a lot of food in America, and most famously in the world, we are known for, well, let's be honest, cheese. But I didn't want to make it that simple. So I landed on something that I quite honestly don't like. That I felt represented America better than anything else. Coney dogs / chili dogs. I don't actually know if they're an American food because most American food is just taken from other cultures and tweaked. I did consider soul food, which is primarily southern, but I decided on coney dogs or chili dogs because, well, hot dogs and hamburgers are kind of what people associate with, like, 4th of July in America and stuff like that. And as I said, I'm not a fan of chili dogs or even hot dogs in general. I much prefer bratwurst. But I can't deny they are pretty synonymous with the United States. And since Unova is meant to be New York, I figured hot dog vendor. You know, stick the tongs in the water and then pull it out and put some stuff on it. And because of that, I decided fighting water type. Because, you know, famously the hot dog in the cart, pull it out of the water. Hey, get your dirty New York street dogs. Only $100 per pop. So I did give it sort of the hot dog look, but I also made the skin of Scraggy into like a hot dog bun. Added some chili-esque areas. And then had some onions sticking out of it, because onions are sometimes a common topping. Though on Scrafty, I did add like a cheesy hairdo, because like cheese famous with America and United States. Now moving on to Britain, I took the Sad Mando's suggestion and worked with Dunkers, which is a famous little thing they got over there. What Dunkers are is basically they're these I guess like breadstick sort of things. Like breadstick chip sort of stuff. And then you dip it in, well, the dip. And while we do have similar stuff in the US, such as Dunkaroos, what makes this unique is it's sour cream and onion. It's more of a savory snack than it is a sweet snack. And while I did do a Jammy Dodgers bronzong, and I do have a few other Britain-inspired designs, I felt like taking the words of a British guy, i.e. the Sad Mando, made the most sense. And that's what I did for all of these designs. Every country featured in this video, I actually talked to someone from that country. Because yeah, I could do my own research, but I feel like it's more impactful and more true if I just ask a person from that area. There's an entire world online available at my fingertips. If I can use it to my advantage and to show off other cultures, I'm gonna do it. Thank you for the answer to this, Mando. I really did enjoy making Dunkers as a Farfetch'd. And as for why I chose Farfetch'd specifically, well, it was sour cream and onion flavor, and it's the little dunking stick and the dip. So Farfetch'd holding a giant stick and then having sour cream and onion on its head that it just scoops off with the stick, I felt was just funny and also kind of fitting because it's an onion and it's sour cream and onion. Ta-da! Yes, I know Galarian, Farfetch'd, and Sirfetch'd exist. But we're not talking about Galar. We're talking about Britain. Ah, see? Tricked ya, didn't I? Moving to the next design, we have Mexico with Tajin. Now, the US does have Tajin, though people use it a lot less here. And I talked to Alex Mextex about this one. I asked what Tajin was commonly put on, and the answer was pineapple and mango primarily. Now, Alex Mextex is shockingly Mexican. Also, there's pretty heavy rain outside as I'm recording this, so if you hear that through the recording, oh well. But because of it being put on fruit, I decided let's do a fruit mon to represent it. And that's how we got to Serena and the Bound Sweet line. Now, one thing I really liked about this project is it also let me research a decent amount about these cultures and the areas they come from. So when I was making this line, I decided to also mix in some traditional Mexican dresses. And as for the typing, originally, since I didn't know much about Tajin before asking Alex, I was gonna make it fire grass because I assumed Tajin was probably a little hot. Cause Tajin, it looks red, so I assumed it was a bit of spice. But I knew I couldn't just automatically do that, so I asked Alex, and after discussing it with him, it turns out Tajin is actually salty, not spicy. Which led me to a grass rock type, which is a pretty cool combination. I'm pretty sure our only one is Cradilli. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's Cradilli. And when it comes to this line, I mixed in pineapples primarily. As you can tell with like the yellow fruit and with the hair being unruly and more like a pineapple stem. Also, it doesn't really have the dominatrix inspiration that the original one has, and has a much more calm look to it, as well as there being little bits of Tajin on the design. It's a genuinely good design. And the last one in North America. Yeah, I couldn't find anyone from Canada. I don't know why, but my contact list is just suspiciously void of Canadians. Now we move on to the Netherlands, in which Dual Dragons actually gave me the inspiration here. They gave me a couple options. One of them was a savory option, and then there was stroopwafel, which is a sweet option, and considering most of what I have so far, at least when I decided to make this, was savory. For instance, because I had chili dog, sour cream and onion, and then salty with the Tajin. Which means I was far more inclined to take the sweet option. And given the name stroopwafel, I obviously wanted to include some waffle maker inspirations. Now, when it comes to stroopwafels, they're basically two very thin, like waffle wafers almost, with like a syrup or caramel inside. And the sort of syrup vibe made it really easy, because once I decided on Magnemite because it's round, I moved on to Magneton and just had them stuck together via syrup, which was honestly one of the easier methods. And at this point I decided it would be Pure Fairy, and I was very tempted to just leave it at Magneton, but I decided it was unfair if I did. So I made Magnezone, and remember when I said I wanted to add waffle maker inspirations? That's where those come in. Because Magnezone, of course, big, giant machine, right? So switch it out for a waffle maker, and you got yourself a Magnezone. And it's now Fire Fairy. I'm just saying, first Fire Fairy type being a regional Magnezone, I'm down. And yeah, also, there's heat in the process of making stuff like syrup and caramel and waffles. So in all honesty, a fire type is not all that confusing. Also, I originally did want to do Delmise for Strewed Waffles, but I couldn't really make it work. I thought of Magnemite afterward, and it worked way better, so that's what I went for. Now, for India, I talked to the incredibly talented Sanctuary of a Dreamer, and got Samosa, which are these little baked pastries which often have stuff such as meat or vegetables inside. And if I'm being honest, I didn't entirely know what I wanted to do for this line, so I decided on the tried and true method of Bucket We Bowl! Literally, just whatever came to mind, I ran with it. And might I just say, I cooked. I cooked and India ate. I'm just saying. Regional Metagross that looks sick as absolute hell. Regional Metagross that looks dope as fuck. Damn near, honestly, I do not care it's a regional form. I absolutely adore this Metagross. Starts as Psychic Normal when it's Beldum because it's basically just floating batter. Stays normal Psychic as Metang, though it does kind of look a bit burnt on the head, hinting at the Fire type, until finally becoming Fire Psychic, with the fire now erupting out the top of Metagross, and the filling inside of Metagross's arms now being launched to create giant masses of meat and vegetables. Also, it's got the gold crest with the red dot in the middle, a play on Hindu gods. The legs are also longer on top, so it can flip them and use them to stand while still launching the fillings on top of its head to get burnt. All I can say, absolute cinema. I told you the method is tried and true. Fuck it, we ball! Now for Australia, we have subscriber to the channel, Gadget Coat, and they suggested the Lamington. Now I have heard of Lamington before. I might not be 100% familiar with Australian cuisine or snacks or anything like that, but I'm not blind to them. I do know about them. And Lamington are, by their description, basically chocolate cake with coconut flakes on top. Now I thought they had jam in them like always, but according to Gadget Coat, they can, but it's not necessary. And for this line, I decided on Grappaloct and Colobopus. Oh wait, I'm just realizing I spelled it wrong on the actual thing. I spelled it as Colobopus. Oh, well that's something to talk about later. I decided to go with the octopi because I liked the idea of the boxing gloves of Colobopus just being squares. And then when it comes to Grappaloct, instead of just tentacles, it now ends with giant cartoon boxing gloves. I also gave both of them coconut helmets, because I remember there's a species of octopus out there that uses a coconut as a defense mechanism, as a way to hide. I don't remember what species it is, but I do know it is out there. And I'll be honest, I wanted to do the platypus, but I really didn't know. I wanted to do a platypus because I was going to make the tail blocky, and I wanted to kind of do like a platypus Psyduck, but admittedly, that's been done, and Colobopus doesn't get a whole lot of love. So I figured show a bit of love to the line and also get to give it some cartoony boxing gloves. Plus, octopus already do have a connection to coconut in some way, shape, or form.
Now let's sweeten the deal with Sweden.
I know, I'll see myself out. Anyway, I got this one from Sterninator's Discord. And for Sweden, we have vegetable cake. And when it comes to vegetable cake, there are actually two kinds. There's a savory fritter-like version, which is the one I went for here because I chose the Arboliva line. One, because I really like Arboliva, it's cool. Because I'm a believer, hey, 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 hey. But there's also the second kind of vegetable cake, which is the sweet kind, where you just use the vegetable shavings for moisture. And while vegetable cake doesn't seem to have any specific ingredients, it's just whatever you feel works. I did notice that for a lot of the time, carrots are typically included in some way, shape, or form. Also, from what I can tell, I think the savory version includes cheese. I'm not certain. And I will say this, I have had zucchini bread. Zucchini bread's actually pretty good, but it's not vegetable cake, so I've never actually had vegetable cake. I have had stuff similar to it, but never actually had it. And when it came to the overall design, I did see eggs used, at least somewhat commonly, for vegetable cake, so I decided probably should add a bit of egg, at least somewhere. And then, like most cakes, there is a potential for layering, which is basically layer of cake, layer of frosting, or whatever else you want to put there, layer of cake again. And I did also try and incorporate some Swedish aspects into the design. Namely, I tried to do the, what's it called? The two, like, braided ponytails coming down, but just, like, replacing them with, well, okay, it was meant to be cucumbers, but they ended up looking more like jalapenos. Yeah, okay, I know. It's got a little bit more going on than just basic Arboliva, but you can still tell what it's supposed to be. Especially since Smoliv and Doliv don't change a whole lot. Sure, they got a little more blocky, but not a whole lot aside from that. 'Cause I'm a believer, hey, hey, hey. And next up to the chopping block, we have Taiwan, which I got from Taro Ghost. And Taro gave me quite a few options, but I decided on boba, because tapioca is a massive thing in Taiwan. Like, it's a major export there. So yeah, shocker, those tapioca balls that you call boba that you drink every day, from well, does Starbucks have boba? Probably. I don't know, I don't drink it. Yeah, that came from Taiwan. And what tapioca is it's basically just starch from cassava root. It's literally just tapioca put in little balls. That's what boba is, they're tapioca pearls. But I actually don't know much about the flavor of boba or anything else like that because, and please do not crucify me, the Starbucks lovers out there. I don't like boba. I actually just don't like tapioca in general, honestly. It's not a flavor thing, it's a texture thing. It's the same reason I don't like bananas. It's just the texture doesn't work for me. Because it's like rigid mushiness, if that makes sense, and it's just, ugh. Anyway, onto the actual mon. Araquanid and Dewpider, because the whole water bubble thing, I figured I could make that like a nod to bubble tea. Like just, oh, look at the little head thing, now it's got pearls floating in it, and tapioca. Also, I modified the designs a bit. Dewpider, its bottom part now looks kind of like a boba cup, and the same could be said because the little stinger, I guess? Is it a stinger? On Araquanid's abdomen is now also a boba cup. I'll admit it looks like a top hat, but it's meant to be a boba cup. As for Araquanid's head specifically, I did make its horn kind of poke up out of the bubble to reference a like a bubble tea straw, because the ones I've always seen people use are like really big, thick straws, and I assume they kind of have to be like that to get the boba up the straw. So I figured giving it a big, thick horn coming out of the bubble would be cool enough. And yeah, this version of Araquanid's bubble is less watery and more gelatinous. If you get stuck in it, good luck swimming out, because it'll be basically the equivalent of getting encapsulated in Jello. I actually really like Araquanid. It's a great, great Pokemon. Water Bubble Mystic Water Liquidation, fantastic. Well, not anymore actually, because now its water is made out of cassava root, starch, jelly, and tapioca, so it's no longer water type. It's now bug grass type. Yeah, I'm aware that's a pretty bad type for a slow mon, but I couldn't really think of any other type to give it, because I guess grass water could have worked, but I mean, it's literally a bug. I don't think I can get rid of the bug type. And like, the bug didn't change, it was the water and the substance that the head bubble is made of that changed. Bug still has to be there, bug still makes sense. Water just doesn't. Now it's just bug grass, which, yeah, it's slow, it's gonna die in a couple hits, but you know, at least it looks cool. Now let's move on to Saudi Arabia, which came from Raidmon here, Mamul, or yeah, Mamul, I think it's Mamul. I think I'm saying that correctly. Maimul. Is it Maimul? Is it Mamul? It's difficult to tell. Anyway, it's basically shortbread cookies, but filled with stuff like figs, dates, or nuts. That's basically all it is. It's a Middle Eastern dessert. It's actually, from what I can tell, I don't think it'd be too dissimilar from Fig Newtons, just, you know, better, because it's actually good quality cookie on the outside rather than just cardboard. But as for the line I used for this, I decided on Pineco and Fortress. I don't really know entirely why. I think I just kind of saw them and went, sure, why not, and just ran with it. I'm not disappointed with the result, just don't remember how I got to it. You know, memory problems for later. I decided to make Pineco look sort of fig-like, like sort of fruit-looking in the outer casing, with the pastry filling kind of pushing out in certain areas, to kind of keep the pinecone shape, but still make it not a pinecone. I guess technically this would work better as a regional fake, since it's no longer a bagworm, but let's be honest, it's the entire concept of this video is, what if we took regional cuisine and made existing Pokemon fit that regional cuisine as regional variants? So, you know, regional fakes count too. I'm not gonna talk about a name, because I have no idea. I don't. I'm just gonna keep calling it a pineco because that's really what the design was inspired by, even if it's no longer a bagworm, but like, to each his own. Still made it look kind of almond or date-like because, it's filled with, it can be filled with either fruit or nuts. I did lean more towards the fruit one, but there still is a bit of that in there. Then, once pineco evolves, it's just two of the cookies with the gelatinous fortress in between. Or I guess more like a... Well, what would it be? It's not jelly. It's not gelatinous, really. It's more like a crumble, but I don't think that's the right word either. We'll figure it out later. And Fortress already has the sort of two halves make a whole thing going on, so... Though I will say the red eyes are kind of... Red eyes, white pupils. Probably should have changed that, but everyone likes them looking in your soul a bit, right? I'm brilliantly stupid! There we go, that describes me. And now for Brazil, we have Romeo and Julieta, which is quite clearly Romeo and Juliet. And I got this from Tropy. And what it is basically cheese covered in marmalade or jelly or stuff like that. Though it's a little more unique, because it can be made into a lot of things like cheesecake, regular cake, mousse, ice cream, and really quite a lot. And it really is basically just like cheese and marmalade mixed, but it's a good mix of salty and sweet, because the cheese used is stuff like Parmesan or Minas, which, those are the more saltier cheeses, at least in my opinion. So it is a salty sweet mix, sort of like sea salt caramel. And what I chose to represent this Romeo Juliet themed dessert, because that's literally what it is, Romeo Juliet, Romeo Julieta, like seriously, that's it. That's the connection. I decided on the duo, because Doduo and Dodrio get literally no love from Pokemon, so this, let's be honest, mediocre artist is giving them the only bit of attention they're ever gonna get for, like, the next 20 years, probably. Also, Doduo has the two-head thing going on, which allows me to make one head the cheese, one head the marmalade. And I have them in the shape of hearts, because, Romeo, Juliet, Shakespeare, classic love story. I mean, tragic ending, but, classic. Then, once it becomes Dodrio, it's more incorporated into everything. Like, the cheese is alongside the marmalade more often than not. One of the heads is even a broken heart with both the marmalade and the, cheese, because one of the major themes in Romeo and Juliet is, both the main characters, Romeo and Juliet, kind of, kick the bucket, get sent up to the river Styx. Oh, how do I put this, they just fucking die. Yeah, no love story, no lovey-dovey happy ending, nah, they die. So, like, a dessert named Romeo and Julieta kind of has to have that broken love thing going on, because let's be honest, it was a toxic love, like, oh no, my love has died. Well, I'll poison myself, goodbye everyone. Oh no, I faked death and now my lover is dead, oh my, I must also perish, bleh. Like, seriously? It's a classic love story, but, it is a little dark, honestly. I'm pretty close to those triple digits, so if you could, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Now, going back to South America, we have Argentina, which I got also from someone in Stern's Discord. Escondida 17. Now, just so you know, at the time I'm recording this, I don't know if the two from Stern's Discord have an @ If they do, it's down in the description, just like all the others I mentioned in this video, so go check them out. But if they don't, then still, I'm gonna shout them out, because, they were cool and helped with this, so. But what I got from them was, oh, please let me pronounce this right, Alfajores. Alfajor? It's basically a sandwich cookie, but it's a little different than that, because it's two sweet biscuits made of wheat flour or corn flour joined with dulce de leche, which is basically like their version of caramel, if that makes sense. I made caramel before, I burned myself on the spoon, but it's basically like heating sugar and milk for several hours, whereas our version of caramel is just water and sugar. So it's like a sweeter, richer version of caramel, if that makes sense. Well, at least the version I made was water and sugar. I mean, it probably should have been milk and sugar now that I think about it. I think my teacher was just stupid. Huh. Food for thought. Anyway, they're also sometimes covered in stuff like powdered sugar or chocolate. And when it came to these, I kind of did the same thing I did with the Metagross design, which was, what design do I think is cool? And then let's just run with it. And that landed me on the Reuniclus line, which honestly works pretty well. I mean, it's already round. It's got the little, what's it called? Jelly already around it, because it's meant to be like a cell going through mitosis. So just having it start as the little sandwich cookie and then just gradually having the dulce de leche come out the bottom and form the body, while the powdered sugar just kind of stays there, and then more dulce de leche and I guess cookie bits are added into the jelly. I mean, I don't think it's a bad inspiration or design at all, really. I actually like it a lot. Granted, I also am just a big fan of Reuniclus in general, so, you know, maybe personal bias is at play, but I don't know, I like it. I think it's cool. Also, even just like the main body being the dulce de leche that comes out the bottom, and then just like, it's not the actual cookie, but it's like what's between the cookie, and then I think it works well enough, decently enough. Then, finally for today, we have another South American country, Peru. And Mar, otherwise known as Ribosaur on Instagram, gave me ceviche. Now, if you don't know what ceviche is, it's a cold seafood dish often involving marinating seafood within citrus juice. So it's basically an orange crab. Orange crab. Orange crab. Orange crab. Orange crab! Yeah, okay, I went with crabby and orange crab. I went with crabby. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure the citrus used is meant to be lemon or lime, but the orange crab joke was literally right there. Yes, fish can also be used, and shellfish is a version of it, but come on, the orange crab joke was right there. I had to do it. And ceviche doesn't only have that. It also has various other vegetables thrown into it as well, like cilantro, onion, lettuce, stuff like that. So yeah, we're looking at a grass crab. Crabby and Kingler are those spindly designs you can really get some mileage out of if you really want to play around. So to start out with, the little butt chin that Krabby already usually has, I just made it oranges, or at least orange adjacent, because it already fits with the top part of Krabby, because Krabby's already orange. Then make some of the white parts a lemon lime kind of color to reference the citrus more than the orange did. Add a little bit of bright pink to sort of insinuate the raw shellfish, and have it munch on some lettuce, because why not? Some crabs do eat foliage like that, so it's really not all that weird of a change, or really not all that different, honestly. The weirdest thing about it is the pose, but I mean, it's as I said, Krabby and Kingler's designs are so spindly, you can really have some fun with the posing if you want. And so I had a bit of fun with Kingler. Bet you didn't think you'd see standing Kingler today, did ya? Now Kingler's usual, crest, I guess you would call it, has some green dangling over top of it because, as I said, ceviche does have more than, it has vegetables on it, so, bring that in, like I did with the previous, lettuce in the mouth. Then Kingler's big mate claw has some raw seafood in it. I'm not gonna say what kind of seafood, because let's be honest, I don't know. It's not weird for crabs to cannibalize their own kind, plenty do it. It's just, I haven't ate crab in a long time, okay? I don't like seafood very much. I like salmon, but aside from that, it's meh for the most part. I'll eat cod, salmon, bass, but most shellfish are kind of a no for me. So I don't know what crab looks like. I haven't eaten it or even really looked at it in a long time. Added a bit of green to the joints because, pop out a bit. Gotta show off, If you have it, flaunt it. And then Kingler's basically just as big and brutish as it's always been. Just looks a little, goofier now that it's standing upright. I at least hope this helps Krabby and Kingler feel less like basic crab and more like fun Pokemon monster. Because after doing this video, I did realize why a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon are getting regional forms and fakes. Because a lot of them were so simple since it was the first generation, and they just want to rebreathe life into them. Because they were so simple before. Now granted, the Kanto starters don't have that excuse, neither does the rat or the cat, because they've gotten a lot of forms. Fox is not that far behind, but you get my point. And with that, we've come to the end of our world exploring journey for now. Now, don't get me wrong, I definitely would like to do this at some point again in the future, because, I think it's awesome. Having the ability to speak with and see different cultures all around the world through people who actually live in those areas is great. And, well, anyway, this is Jay, signing away, forever and always. Bye-bye!